Now let's bring in our guest. He's a former heavyweight champion of the world and pulled off one of the greatest upsets of all time when he knocked out an undefeated Mike Tyson in 1990. James Buster Douglas is here. Buster, thanks so much for joining the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm having a good time.
Good, good. You know, I want to just take you back to that moment. I know you've been asked every question under the sun about that fight, but it was your second shot at the title, a second chance. First time was against Tony Tucker, and you were actually given more of a chance in that fight, not so much the second time around against Tyson. Do you think that helped you? We look at that chip on the shoulder a lot in sports. Did that help?
I think the motivation was definitely there because, like you said, I had a little better appreciation for it after having my first title shot. And I was really excited about it and more determined than ever to succeed.
Buster, I was, that fight shocked the world. I remember I got a call. I remember where I was for that. I remember where I was for the OJ verdict. I mean, that was big news when I was in high school. You were on a 6-fight win streak, though. I mean, you were looking the best you ever looked. Everyone and the media was talking about how this was going to be just another tune-up fight for Tyson. But do you think Tyson knew that he had his hands full, considering how good you looked preceding that fight? I mean, you were looking good. 6 in a row.
Yeah, I was really worked hard and prepared, put my all effort into it, and was really excited about getting the opportunity to fight for the title again. I was more determined than ever, and I felt very confident going into the fight.
Did you talk any shit to him in the ring?
No. I was always
you
told
just went
not
to work.
Run off at the mouth. Yeah, just went to work, let my hands go. Let my hands do the talking.
You let the hands go.
I like that. So much has been written about that fight. What's something that fans or media may be surprised to know about that night in Tokyo?
Well, the fight was actually at noon, at 12 o'clock noon, Tokyo time. And we were preparing and training around that time to enter the ring at noon. We trained at noon every day. I got up and ran at 8 in the morning, ate breakfast, and went back, took a little nap, and then went back to the gym. So at 12 o'clock, I was preparing for the fight every day.
When you were out there in Japan, I mean, you're training, you're burning a lot of calories, you got to eat. Did you eat sushi? Are you a fan of sushi?
Not at all. No, I eat American food.
They had American food out there.
Yeah, they had American food. I was basically same diet I was on when I was in the United States.
Have you ever tried sushi though?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No. Not my cup of tea. I like flames under my food.
Buster,
I hear you.
How much did your life change after that fight? I mean, all of a sudden you're a household name from boxing fans and beyond. I'm sure you just went on a total circus of a media tour and met all these people. What was the biggest change?
Well, it was just like you said, it was just a media circus. And I was in high demand. Everybody wanted to talk to me and know who I was and where I came from. It was like I was an alien from another planet.
Buster, you know what's interesting about that fight? Not only did you beat Tyson, but you really set the blueprint for how to beat him afterwards by keeping him at bay with the jab, keeping him away, jab, 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 jab. Did you know that was going to be the key to fight him and to beat him? Or did that was that something that came to you while you were in the ring?
No, it was just something my father and I discussed. He was always telling me to be first. Don't sit there and be looking. Let your hands go and go from there.
Yeah, because you see Lennox Lewis beat him that way. Even Evander beat him that way. And that was the way, just like if anyone wanted to beat Tyson after that, you really just kept him away, kept him from getting inside with that jab. So that's very interesting that you beat Tyson, but then also people copied you afterwards to beat him with the style.
Correct.
Buster, where do you think the sport of boxing has grown since you've hung it up, and where do you think it's going?
I think it's grown quite a bit, and I think it still has a bright future. You know, being a great sport that it is, you know, one-on-one individuals in there battling it out. I think it's going to be around for a long time to come. That's for sure.
What do you think about all of the antics outside of the ring?
That has grown a great deal. The entrance, entering the ring is very theatrical. You know, but it doesn't matter how you enter the ring. Is what you do once you get inside there. That'll never change. But the theatrics leading up to it has gotten pretty exciting.
Bus, I want to ask you, in that fight, you actually got knocked down, so you felt Tyson's power with that, with his famous uppercut that he put so many heads to sleep with, stretched so many people out with. What is that power? What does Mike Tyson's power feel like?
Well, it's the force. You know, he has a lot of force behind it as well. The impact. You know, and it doesn't feel like, you know, you really been hit. That's why it's so sweet and so sneaky. It's not like you get crushed with it. It's a sneaky type of feeling. You know, it's a delayed reaction. You know, it's kind of weird to describe it, but...
Did he hit the hardest of anyone?
No, not at all. Oh. I've been hit a lot harder, you know,
Wow.
before.
Who hit harder than him?
Well, I had a sparring partner that could hit pretty good. You know, he was like a cruiserweight. And, you know, it's just sometimes some guys just have it and some don't. It wasn't the hardest that I had ever been hit.
Wow.
Let's talk about the fight this weekend between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. It's their third fight. These guys genuinely seem to hate each other. We were talking about antics out of the ring. Was there ever an opponent that you actually disliked like they do?
Not really.
Okay.
You know, it's always been, for me, it was always the press. Mm-hmm. That was my main enemy, you know, because of never getting acknowledged like I thought I should have been. But that's what kept me going, and that what led to me becoming the heavyweight champion of the world.
Buster, in the Tucker fight, the press, speaking of the press, they created the storyline that you quit, and then you got known as the quitter. Did you quit, or was it just that you got tired, or what happened there?
You know, that really transpires back in the beginning of training camp. There was a lot going on. It was not a smooth transition leading up to the fight. It was just a lot of madness going on within the camp. And it kind of just poured over into the fight. Because believe it or not, you have to have a controlled environment leading up to a fight. Everything's going smoothly. You know, you're focusing on training and preparing for your fight. But there was a lot of distractions leading up during that Tucker fight. And I think it just carried over into the ring. So it left a lot of doubt and a lot of misjudgments because of my performance. But I still felt determined that I knew I had what it takes to become the heavyweight champion of the world. And it just made me even more determined once I came up short in that Tucker fight to come back and still obtain a childhood dream by becoming the heavyweight champion of the world.
And afterwards you fought Evander, and then Evander ended up beating Tyson easily twice. Did the boxing world know Evander was that dangerous? Do you think Tyson knew? What were your thoughts about Evander Holyfield at the time?
I knew he was a great fighter. You know, he had potential to be a great fighter, and that, you know, he was a determined individual, and you had to be on point, totally focused and at your best to go in there and compete against him. So I was well aware of that. That's why I accepted the challenge, because I thought at the time I felt everything was going to be going as smoothly as ever, but it didn't work out like that. But it was still a great opportunity, and I just I did what I could at that time.
Who hits harder, Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield?
I always said anybody that's over 200 pounds had a pretty good punch, and once you get hit, you get hit. So, you know, they're all the same.
Who do you think the greatest heavyweight of all time is?
I also have to always agree to say Muhammad Ali. He's always been one of my favorite fighters, and I've got a kind of prejudice towards Ali. Got a chance to meet him and hang out with him. He's pretty great. He was a great guy.
When we look at other sports guys who are teammates, when they retire, they have a bond, kind of a fraternity. Does that exist in boxing so much? Are there guys who maybe you went against or just crossed paths with that you're friendly with to this day?
Yeah, it's like that. Some guys that, for me, it's not only in the heavyweight division, but it's in the other divisions as well. I have opportunities. I was a big fan of other guys and had opportunity to meet him and got to know him and walked away like he is a really great guy. So, yeah, that carries over in boxing as well.
What do you think about MMA? Because I know you train young kids now. Do you feel like there's a lot of kids coming in who are training with boxing as one aspect of what they want to do?
Well, the kids that I work with are strictly boxers. And it's a joy because I see myself and a lot of them coming up at that young age because I started at 10 as a 10-year-old.
Wow.
And it's just like reliving it all over again, but I'm on the other end now. And it's pretty exciting. I really enjoy it and having a great time with them.
You see any potential in any of them to maybe one day be the next Buster Douglas?
I see it in all of them, really, one way or another. It's just they're exciting to be around and they're positive individuals. And we all have a dream. So, not to knock anyone's dream, it's to enhance it and make it better. Hopefully it'll come true.
What did you hate most about the media and the storylines they created? Was one of them that you hated that you didn't have the ferocity that your dad had or that you were a quitter? Like, what made you hate the media so much in what they said about you?
I never hated the media. It was just everybody their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to your own opinion. But it was just, I never listened to them. I could care less what they thought because I knew what was inside of me. And the people around me knew what I was capable of doing. And we just made the best of it. If there's nothing else, it was fuel for the fire.
That seems to be a big part of your message and your mojo. That's such a great thing also to be teaching the kids that you're working with now about using that, harnessing that energy. I wanted to ask you again, the fight this weekend, overall style-wise, who do you like to win, Fury or Wilder?
I'll tell you, I would have to say Fury has an edge because he is a boxer. And Wilder has got a new trainer, and I think he's changed his technique a little differently. But we want to see how far or how long he can sustain that because there's going to be a lot of pressure with Wilder on this fight, fighting Fury and having a new trainer and going into it with one ideal, with a different aspect, but getting hit once the fight starts and things start not going your way. Is he going to maintain that ability to continue this new style, or is he going to revert back to the old Wilder, where he gets kind of wild and depends on that right hand to change things? It's going to be interesting, but there's going to be a lot of weight on Wilder's shoulders to see if he can sustain this new technique and ability that he has been working on for the last few weeks.
Everybody talks about the skills in boxing and the power, but there's also a mental aspect to it as well. Like you see when everyone fought Tyson, they looked scared. When you saw Fury fight a Wilder for the first time, he looked a little scared of that right hand, but then in the second fight, he didn't look scared. How big a role does the fear and mental aspect play in approaching a fight when you enter the ring?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier about, my main point is maintaining that mental strength, staying focused, not getting overly excited and losing the game plan. Because everybody walks in there with a game plan, but it's all a matter of fact of once you get hit again and again, can you sustain that same mental toughness to where you can stay focused enough to weather that storm and come out with the same game plan and continue on, especially if it's working, everything's working for you. Because sometimes it doesn't work out in the earlier part of the fight, but you got 12 rounds to change things and have a different approach. But it's all about the mental toughness and how you react to once you get hit and things don't look as clear and gets on the edge of the spectrum where you might not want to stay focused and continue to believe in what you went into the ring with. It's all about mental toughness, and whoever sustains that in this fight coming up is going to be the winner.
That's good insight. It's going to be a good one. You know, Buster, we always like to have some fun with our guests. And since you pulled off one of the greatest upsets of all time, we'd like to know what upsets you. So we're going to list some things that are common, everyday nuisances. And you tell us how upset that makes you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The first one is when someone takes their shoes off on an airplane. How upset does that make you?
It doesn't bother me unless it's a bad odor. You know, other than that, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay, how about people talking very loud on their speakerphone, on their cell phone in public?
Now, that's pretty annoying, especially when you're trying to get some rest. Like you're on a plane or something like that, trying to sleep, and somebody's on the other behind you on the speakerphone, chit-chatting all loud and unruly. That can be very annoying.
Yep. And then you hear all their business. I hate that too. What about bad service at a restaurant?
Oh, I hate that the most. Because when I go into a restaurant, I'm hungry. I'm ready to eat a good meal and relax and enjoy the company that I'm with. So that could be very annoying as well.
Ah, man, this one's a tough one for me, but let's see how you feel about it. Long lines at the DMV.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
I usually have somebody stand in line for me.
Yeah.
Until they get up to the door and then I go in.
Okay, what about when you pull up to a store and you're trying to park and someone has parked just so that you could have fit another car in, but they left too much room on both sides, so you can't park there?
Nightmare. I could be a touchy situation.
Yep.
It's like you want to turn into the Incredible Hulk and slide the car over.
And I bet you could.
Yeah, I could be very annoying.
How about, Buster, how about people leaving their shopping carts in the middle of a parking lot, you know, and they don't put the shopping cart back?
That's really annoying, especially if you got a nice car.
Yeah.
They can easily start coming towards your car and tap your car and scratch it.
Oof.
Yeah, not a good mess with a man's car.
That's right.
Okay, this one my husband gets very mad at me about when I reach over and have a bite of his food.
That's not so bad.
Oh, that's nice.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, sharing is caring, Olivia. Sharing
is caring, exactly. That's what I want to say.
I'm going to make sure I tell my husband.
How about when you drop in a deuce and you look over and there's no toilet paper? Someone forgot to replace the toilet paper.
Well, that's very annoying. Very annoying. That's all I'll speak on that.
Yeah.
But I always check before I go in there anyway, make sure somebody was polite enough to make sure it was paper on the road before the next individual comes in.
Okay, what about when people are talking at a movie theater and you can't hear the movie?
That's not good. That's horrible. Or they'll talk throughout the whole movie. Oh, here comes in one scene. This scene, oh yeah, look, this right here. This is what I was talking about. Watch this. You know, it's like, shut up. Nightmare.
Okay, the last one is, how much does it upset you that Jake Paul is making the most money boxing right now?
It doesn't upset me at all. It's like, all the power to him, you know. He's just an individual that's found a pulse and he's taking total advantage of it. Yeah. Good for him.
Do you have one more fight in you, and will you fight Jake Paul and knock him out?
I've always got one more fight in me.
Yeah.
As long as I'm able to walk and talk and breathe, I always feel like I got another fight in me left.
That is the perfect place to end. That's very inspiring. Your story is so inspiring. We appreciate you coming on, Buster. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun.